Alright, what's going on, guys? Elden Ring is a masterful example
Sag.
of what a world can look like in a controlled fantasy
Thank you,
setting.
Orion.
Now, yes, the game still has its fair share of oddities
I had
and
a
things
great
that
time.
defy conventional realities, but everything under its umbrella adheres to strict
I think
laws
around
that are
300
established,
hours.
and the theme is, for the most part, relatively consistent. But today we're going to talk about something that almost breaks that theme. An enemy that teeters on the edge of fantasy, but feels so out of place when compared to other enemies in the game that it would almost feel more cohesive if it wasn't here at all. Today we'll be discussing the lore of the Crystallians, the stone figures
I
come
hate
to
these
life
guys.
found among the glintstone formations. And trust me, their story is just as strange as their appearance.
They're
so
like
as
the
we begin
most
today, if you
annoying
enjoy
people.
all things Elden Ring and want to stay up to date on the news, lore,
hate
and
them the
discussion,
most.
then go ahead and hit that subscribe button. And now let's get into it. To begin our discussion on the Crystallians, we need to address something. There is a very good reason why the Crystallians feel as though they don't belong in Elden Ring, and it's
'Cause
due
they
to their
don't.
inspiration which lies outside the game. And although we will address that and take a look at it, we need to first attempt our understanding with the things we can find in the confines of the lands between. And as always, the best place to
Bye,
start when
Goobs. It's good to
understanding
see
these
ya.
creatures is by taking a look at their appearance. The Crystallians are bright blue stone humanoids, comprised of carefully carved crystals that are shaped in the form of light armor. They sport a bright red sash fastened around their neck with a string and ring, and a stoic expression on their face. The crown atop their head has an arch shape, as if it's meant to be hair or some form of headdress. And there are several variants of the
They're high
Crystallians
slashy.
wielding different kinds of weapons. One type wields a spear and strikes in very methodical and
Oh, you know what? Okay, so never mind. So I'm about 300 on my PlayStation, and then my console. I don't know how long it took me in Ivana, but I feel like maybe, like how many do you think? KS, you were there. How many hours do you think that was? Like 60 to 70, or 100 with me and Ivana playing it. Oh, the slashy. I love that. Hey, Entrain. Thank you for the 100 biddies. 75. Okay, so probably around 375, 380. Getting close to 400. I will, Orlan.
rhythmic forward jumps. The other wields some sort of ring blade that's thrown along the ground like a wheel, and also carries two smaller rings that it uses to throw like boomerangs. And a third, less common
This
weapon
would be a
they
dope
wield is a
Halloween
short
costume.
staff that's used to cast entirely unique crystal spells. But much like their weaponry, there are also three types of crystals. The most common are the standard blue Crystallians, which appear to be their normal form, blue like the mythic glintstone crystals that surround them. In the depths of Miquella's Haligtree, we find
just
more
go with it,
Crystallians,
chaos.
this time with a sort of purple hue, the color being the result of an infection with the scarlet rot that they too pass on through their weapons. Also in the Haligtree is a type of Crystallian that makes even less sense. Summoned into reality by the spirit caller snails, these have a slight white tinge and shatter as soon as the snail is defeated. But now that we've gone over the physicalities, what does the lore actually say about these creatures? The crystal spear description reads as follows: spear fashioned
I
from
did,
pure
Orlan.
crystal, a deed impossible for a human, enwreathed with powerful magic. Its attack scales with intelligence. The inscrutable
hold on.
Crystallians have but one
Sorry, I didn't listen to that. I have to hear it again. Yeah, I did play earlier. I'm going to be on tomorrow, 7 p.m. Possibly, no, not earlier, because I'm going to take my dogs on a hike. 7 p.m. to 2 a.m.
scales with intelligence.
Sorry, I need to listen to him read this again. My brain didn't take it in.
Possible for a human, enwreathed with powerful magic. Its attack scales with intelligence. The inscrutable Crystallians have but one clear purpose: to safeguard their crystals unto the end. One theory posits that they yearn for the return of their creator, who will carve for them new brethren. The shattering crystal spell gives us a bit more context. Sorcery of the mysterious Crystallians. The Crystallians are inorganic beings, yet they live. They cleave close to the ideals of the primeval current, and as such, they are revered guests of the sorcerers. So the only information we have that describes the life of the Crystallians is just a theory. So even in the lands between where they inhabit, nobody really knows what they are, or their purpose of existence. The only thing we know for sure is that they have some ties to the primeval current, which is in and of itself a massive mystery. The primeval current is a taboo in the study of glintstone sorcery, and would take well over an hour to explain in detail. However, the general picture is enough for our understanding of the Crystallians. The primeval current is described as an abyss, a place of stars, and the origin of glintstone. It's a thing that can't be fully understood, but harbors an energy so great that the most powerful legendary sorceries draw from it. But it's impossible to deny a connection between life energy and the primeval current, as seen with the graven masses, which are so-called seeds of stars, tools used by craven sorcerers to access the primeval current.
Our art draws upon the powers embedded in glintstone. But what is the nature of such power? Glintstone is the amber of the cosmos. Golden amber contains the remnants of ancient life and houses its vitality, while glintstone contains residual life and thus the vitality of the stars. It should not be forgotten that glintstone sorcery is the study of the stars and the life therein, a fact lost on most sorcerers these days.
So Selen tells us outright that there is a form of life within this current, and the behavior of these crystals. All throughout the lands between, especially in places we find the Crystallians, we'll see evidence of crystals and life blending together, whether it be the crystal growths protruding from the miners, or the various glintstone dragons found throughout
everything up close.
It shouldn't really come as a surprise that there's an undeniable link between life and glintstone, in a sort of physical and metaphysical way, which should cause the Crystallians to make a bit more sense. They are the incarnation of this life, and as it turns out, not the only stones given life either. The alabaster and onyx lords are also made of stone, said to have risen to life after the arrival of a meteorite that traveled from an abyss beyond, and that abyss is where they draw their power, using that power to cast variations of glintstone magic. But the alabaster and onyx lords are said to have come from an ancient time, a time when meteorites were objects of worship, and their power held sway over the land. And much like how the Crystallians guard their crystals, the onyx and alabaster lords seek out their meteorites which created them. So I don't think it would be far-fetched to say that the glintstone life found in the Crystallians may be a sort of variant like we see with the alabaster and onyx lords that speaks more to the powers of the void beyond and the primeval current than anything to do with the creature themselves. And when we take a look at Selen's primal glintstone, which houses her life essence and soul, it's the exact same color as the Crystallians, the exact same shade of blue, which explains why they're able to be summoned by the spirit caller snails. Even though they're inorganic beings, they still have a spirit and a life within the glintstone. So the reason these creatures are so mysterious and no one knows of their origin is because they're far older than glintstone sorcery as a whole. They are primal glintstone. This may also explain why their appearance and movement doesn't seem to fit with any of the culture in the lands between. Everything about them has a sort of tribal feel to it, something we only also see in the Zamor warriors, who like the alabaster and onyx lords are from a time immemorial, an age long lost and subsequently erased from history. The details of this age are few and far between and comprised mostly of speculation, which is likely the case for this so-called creator of the Crystallians. What I think is much more likely is something similar to what happened with the golems. Their origins were entirely unknown, but since they were useful to the people of this new age, they were left to serve their purpose, in the case of the golems, guarding divine locations. So perhaps this story of a mythic creator that fashioned these Crystallians was nothing more than hearsay between sorcerers, an attempt to rationalize a reality that no one knows, and the only ones that will ever know it are the Crystallians themselves. But that's just my theory within the confines of the game. And although it could be correct within the lore, it's also much more likely that there is no background story of the Crystallians. And that's because this idea of the Crystallians, or Crystal Warriors, is from a game book called Fighting Fantasy, which Miyazaki frequently cites as a
CDR, you have a good day, but yes, I love the Bridge to Nowhere. I actually do that hike. Well, I haven't done it in 2 years, but before that, I did it often. So hopefully someday soon I'll do it again. But you have a good rest of your day. I do wash my apples before I eat them. And Orlan, I hope I do see you a little bit tomorrow. If not, you should still check out today. And I did beat Renala. So, bam.
A source of inspiration. Zully the Witch has a great video breaking this down, where they explain that this idea likely came from the book and was put into the game appearance first, with their bits of lore then written around it. And the Crystallians are not the only ones for this to happen to. But this lore of the Crystallians gives us a good look into how this world is created, pulling many ideas from different sources, adding in a mix of original ideas, and twisting everything to make it fit into a cohesive world. It's one of the beautiful things about creating fantasy, and one of the reasons that everything in Elden Ring feels so fresh and unique, because it doesn't all follow one linear theme. And for those ideas that fit outside the box like the Crystallians, we're still able to come up with a pretty clear picture of what they are, due to all the laws and the physics of the world pre-established. It really is genius how they pulled that off. But to wrap all of this up, we still have a few unanswered questions. Firstly, if my theory is incorrect, who might be this inhuman craftsman that created the Crystallians, and will they ever return? Secondly, is the fact that the Crystallians were able to become infected by the Scarlet Rot relevant to their idea and version of life, or does it just treat them like any other part of the landscape? Now these are questions we'll probably never get the answers to, and that's okay, it's enough to keep the mystery alive. For now we have a pretty good picture of the Crystallians, and enough to kindle some curiosity into the mysteries of the primeval current.
Dick is nice.
Anyways though guys, that is going to do it for the video today. I hope I was able to shed a bit more light on one of Elden Ring's most mysterious enemies.
Dope. That was pretty cool. There's so much. I think my my lore book is coming tomorrow from where did I get it? Oh, I got it off eBay. That's right. I can't imagine that it'd feel too great. I don't know. I mean, I think it'd probably feel good because, like, it's... I guess it depends on the type of loofah you have, actually. I'm gonna take that back. Depends on the type of loofah you're getting down with. Oh my god. Oh, someone asked if I have used the randomizer. I have not used the randomizer yet. So I do really want to, though. I do really want to use the randomizer, but I want to do it. I want to do it like now that I'm refreshed on the game. So maybe I'll do it after all the DLC stuff.